Hello, and welcome back to Scale to Exit with Alejandra Santos, your hostess with the mostest. And I am so excited to introduce you episode number 3 of season number 2. So I'm excited to bring you this guest because I found her on LinkedIn and I was so impressed with her accomplishments in her career and as a leader that she is. She's not even 30 years old and she already exited her first business. So we're going to talk about that. Um yes, so she is a powerhouse of a woman. She is a mission-driven individual. She does not do anything unless there is a passion and a mission behind it that she stands by. She talks about that as well. She shares a lot of insights and strategies on how to scale your business. And being that she is a product developer, product company, she developed she actually has an AI business. So being that she's in that space, she shares how she looks at a marketing from her eye, from her perspective, and it's quite insightful, I would say. So tune in for that. Marketing is not for everybody, but to hear it on how some founders take it, how they see marketing, it's really interesting, especially they come from the tech world. She's a Guatemalan, so she is hardcore Guatemalan supporter. So she will talk about that as well. She supports women in entrepreneurship and leadership. She empowers business owners. So I'm very excited to bring her in. She's a powerhouse of a lady, like I already said. And I am very grateful to have her here on Scale to Exit. So before we do that, I will share a little bit of her bio. Okay. So Sofia Castillo is a co-founder and innovator at Cimera, co-founder and CEO of CoreCode, and graduated in systems innovation, Scrum Master, and AI product manager. She also currently serves as a technology advisor and director on the board of ITO AGE Export. She has received several accolades, including Forbes Business Promise 2023. She is considered a transformative woman leader in innovation and excellence in the region from Incae Business School 2024. And she's been recognized for Business Career 2024 by Kakiv, and she has other awards and accomplishments. So, are you guys excited to listen to the conversation? Well, you should get excited because it's going to be a really candid and good one. And before we do that, let me just please ask you to like, comment, share the episode. There's a lot that comes to making an episode for you guys. And I just do it because I really want to bring awareness and educate business owners and founders in how to create a business that you can exit for a high business valuation. You guys know I'm very passionate about that. So please just like, share, comment, and just spread the love and enjoy the episode. So without further ado, let's bring her in and I will see you on the other side. All right. Thank you so much, Sophia, for coming to Scale to Exit. I am so excited for you to share your story. You have such an empowering, motivational story on how you have led businesses, how you have exited your businesses, and we all want to hear. First of all, I want to know what drives you. What is a big driver behind all of your success?
Awesome. I love that question. One of the most important things for me has always been mission. Everything I do always is aimed at a mission. And I would like to say that I didn't start building companies because I wanted to be a businesswoman. I started companies by accident, truly. My background when I was like 16 to 20 was mainly focused on initiatives for social impact in my community. I was born in Guatemala and I lived there my entire life. So I knew a lot about all the things that my community was suffering from. So I was always just committed to figuring out how we could become a country that could develop faster. So a lot of social impact initiatives, even politics, and a lot of those things. And as a woman in school, we never truly heard the word software. So I didn't know anything about tech. We never truly heard that much about business. It just wasn't in my mind that I could be a businesswoman in technology. But as fate would have it, the more I wanted to solve problems for my country, the more I realized I needed leverage. And that's how I accidentally ended up meeting the technology industry, which then led me to do experiments with tech, which then led me to create my first company, which was an edtech that we built in Guatemala. And that was the first company I built and exited. So I would say like what drives me truly is the realization that the way in which the world is depends on what we're doing about it. So I take full responsibility in what surrounds me, and everything I build is to change that reality and improve it, right?
I love what you're saying, woman in tech, how you came from a Guatemalan background.
Yeah.
Is everybody back home, like Guatemala, your family back home?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Everyone's is in Guatemala, and I go to Guatemala all the time as well. It's important for me to both build globally, but also be present in the places that I really care about and that I want to change. Because if I'm not present in the problem, sometimes it's hard to understand what else can be built, right? So yeah.
This is Core Code, right? That's the one that you co-founded and what acquired. Can
Yes.
you talk about your experience there?
Yeah, so it was very fun. I started it when I was 21. Before that, as I had mentioned, I had not studied anything truly on business, finances, and tech. But I decided and I realized that it was truly important for more people to have technological abilities so that they could start creating the future that I longed for as well. The first thing was how I learned to launch fast. A lot of people have great ideas, great business ideas, great tech ideas, but they spend a year planning before they truly jump in. How I did it was a bit differently. The time I was working at Procter and Gamble, but I was on the side doing experiments that resembled what the EdTech ended up being, which was a platform to train software developers and connect them to technology companies. But I was doing it as an experiment. And as I was doing it as an experiment, I started attracting allies, for example, my co founder. And then when I met him there, immediately when we met, he was like, hey, we should start a company on this, and we should scale it. And I was like, yeah, if that means we get to impact more lives, definitely. Let's start a business and let's scale it. And the next day, I quit Procter and Gamble and I jumped right in. And that was just the beginning of me always taking a lot of risks and jumping, right? After that, it's just I realized that it's always the same process, right? You can like plan for years and then launch, or you can take the decision to start right now, launch right now, and then improve on as you build. And that's just literally it applies to everything I learned within that company. It's always about just doing the draft, launching it, and then editing continuously. So continuous learning was one of the most important lessons that was put to practice there. um, I knew nothing, but I knew I could learn everything. So I think that was very powerful for me.
You have a lot of belief and faith in yourself for you to like, I'm just gonna jump in and go for it at
Yeah, so
21.
I love that way of seeing it. And I think, yes, I think two things. One, I truly love the reality that can come to be if I do certain things. So I feel a lot of commitment to that reality. Very, very committed to that. And then on the other side, I just think there's no other way in which I want to live. Whenever I take a decision, I think like, which story do I like best? And it's usually the one where I take more risks. So it's just like, yeah, I'll just do it. I'll just jump in because it writes a better story. It's
Yeah.
something like the phrase like "do it for the plot." It's like, yeah, I do everything for the plot all the time because I'm writing a great story. So I had not thought like, yeah, that requires confidence in myself, because I was more thinking about the story than about myself. And the story requires certain things to happen. So, but yes, now that you say it, I can see that requires self confidence. I agree.
Yeah. Because that's not typical how, yeah, that's what I say. A lot of people, probably founders out there, they stop before doing something because they have
Yes.
fear and they freeze and they don't move forward. And you
Yes.
actually started this and then you got acquired.
Yeah.
How was that exit process for you?
Yeah, it was very unexpected because since I didn't know much about business and tech, I didn't know that people tend to aspire to get acquired. So I wasn't aspiring to that. I was just thinking, how can we make more impact continuously, build cooler products, whatnot. So for me, it was very important to build the brand, to get the name, to share the story. So I was doing that very loudly, and for that reason, I was in the radar of other types of companies. So I think that in itself helped a lot. Some people that want to get acquired, they don't make that pre-work of getting their name out there, and if your name is not out there, you don't exist, and if you don't exist, no one would truly want to acquire you, right? That's my way of seeing it. I think there's two perspectives, like one is build loud and one is build like secretly, but build something really cool, a good business, whatnot. I love building in public. I love loudness. I love sharing stories, right? I love transparency and all of that. So for me, the pre-work that I unintentionally did was to build a name and build a brand. And when that happened, a year and a half after we had started the company, this American company came like, hey, we heard that you're doing something that's really important to us because you're connecting Guatemalan talent to and Central American talent to technology companies. We do the same, but we do it at a larger scale, and we not only do technology roles, we do all types of roles. So basically it's your same mission but bigger. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I love it. I love connecting humans to amazing work, amazing jobs. And this is just a way for me to scale faster, joining this team, right? The interesting part is that part of the reasons why they wanted to acquire me is so that I could join the leadership team and become a co-founder with them. So that was also an interesting part, because I had built both the story and the product. That had given some like precedent of what I care about and how I do things. So yeah, so that's how it happened. They contacted us. Hey, we're interested in acquiring, and then we had the conversation with my co-founder, right? Because maybe he didn't want to get acquired, and maybe I didn't know if I wanted to get acquired. So that conversation was interesting. In my personal case, and he has other story to this, my co-founder. My personal story is that I was here in Silicon Valley, and one of my mentors, she asked me like, "What's your true objective with this company? Is it for you to be the like a big owner of this company, or is it for you to connect more people to more companies? Like, what's the real objective for you?" And I was like, no, my objective has always been to impact more people faster. And she was like, okay, what's the road to that? What's gonna get you there faster? And what's gonna enable you to like use your creativity like in bigger projects and whatnot? And I was like, yeah, I think this is the way. Because another thing she said is that, because I was 23 when I was getting acquired, and she said, Sofia, like, you're the type of people that sees a lot of problems in the world and will solve a lot of problems in the world. So truly what you want to do is to learn everything as soon as possible. So you already learned how to start a business, how to run a business, how to raise capital, and how to exit. Now you can use that knowledge, leverage it, and replicate it in whatever thing you want to do. And that compounds, right? So I was like, yeah, that's so cool. Like I am always optimizing for love, for learning, and for fun. That's truly the way I see it. That's my objective, right? So I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And so we decided to sell. And it was interesting. It took like a 6-month process of due diligence and paperwork, and then we signed, and then we sold.
Wow. So you come here, 21, start a business, no knowledge. You're like, I'm just going to learn on the way.
Yeah.
Then you scale this company, you fundraise, which we're going to talk about that one. And then you exited your business and you were 23.
Yeah, I was
Wow,
doing
that's amazing. So what would you say when the fundraising part is it's so
that.
nerve-wracking for a lot of people, and then also they don't have a lot of direction. How
Yeah.
did you put all of that together to be able to get the right investor in your business?
Yes. So I would say that even before you start raising, I think it's important to understand what you're building and what you truly need to get to where you want to be. Because a lot of people start preparing to fundraise and start focusing on fundraising without even having something that they can sell or something that they can present to investors. I think there's different types of business, but I think for the majority, it's always good to have had some traction, to have some numbers, to say like, this is what I already learned about this, and now I just need this in order to like keep growing, because I know this specific thing works. In my case, that's how it was. We didn't raise before we had something solid that was already starting to grow, and we just needed that extra push in order to grow faster. I know that it doesn't apply for other industries. I think other industries you need to raise from the beginning because they're so expensive. But when
Hmm.
you're speaking about software, I do think it's cool to have traction metrics that can validate that the market exists. People do want this. This is actually something that will serve
Hmm.
the user. So I love to say before you start thinking about fundraising, start thinking about how you're gonna get traction right now. I personally prefer to sell to my user before I sell to investors because then you also lose some mission. Some investors want different things that you don't want, so it also helps you like stand your ground on what you want to build.
Hmm.
So that's one thing. And then when you want to raise, there's a lot of like templates of pitch decks out there and there's a lot of like studies that have demonstrated like in which order you should do things. So I would just recommend like to take a look at that because that also gives you an idea of which things you should be focusing on building. Like, okay, I need to have a problem, a solution, a traction, a roadmap, whatever. Like whatever is there, you can say like, okay, I don't have traction, I don't have a problem, I don't have a solution. Then that can serve you as an exercise, like to just try to feel that form. And if you have gaps, you can work on them, or you just feel the presentation. Now, in terms of finding the right investor, to find the right investor, you need to know what's the north that you have for the company, and what's the things you want to build next. Do you want to scale super fast, or do you want to focus in a small niche of people that you really care about? Like, what's your true objective? What's your true mission? Your true values? And once you have them clear, it's a bit more easy to go out and find that person. In my personal case, when I started the company, and I didn't even know like unicorn companies existed at that time. So I had no idea, but what I did know was that I was entirely mission driven. So I wanted all the investors to be fully mission driven. So on my co-founder side and on my side, we sent invitations to people we knew cared about the same mission of development for the country. So all the investors truly came from Guatemala, because they saw the impact that we were doing and directly. And so it wasn't extremely like a long period of fundraising because they really wanted to help. And it's different when you invest from people that really want to help than when you invest when you want to scale a company and become a unicorn company, whatever. It's super different. But in my case, that's what I raised first. In the second company, it's a different story, but I think that would be my recommendation. First, like build, then understand where you stand, and once you have that, it'll be easier to go out and reach out and get warm intros or whatever. By that time, like
How
it gets easier.
Yeah, you did say some really good points. It's very different to raise when you want to grow exponentially fast than
Yeah,
to raise like from a mission, like you
yeah, yeah,
said.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Um, what would be some of the strategies that you would share with, anybody that has a business in in the same industry for them to grow their business, grab traction before going to ask for money?
Awesome. I always like to think that everything I do is from a place of love. my main thing is like you have to love your user passionately. Like, what do they need? Like, what do they really like about your product? What do they hate? And start small, right? For me, when a founder comes to me and they're like, I already have one user and they truly love what we're doing, that's way better than when someone comes and tells me like, yeah, I have 100 users, they don't even use the platform, they don't even, yeah, they're paying but they're not doing anything. Because that's a signal. It's a signal that a person really loves your product or that people are not using it. So both are good information. But I would say like I prefer when it's a better signal of traction when the user is loving it already. um, so start small, like start with five. Was that because sometimes people get frustrated about how to get the first million users before they have five. So that's what I would say first. Like first, focus on the first five. Focus on building the best product for them so that they love it, and then you will understand better who your target user is. And then when you have that target user, you will ask the question, okay, where does my target user live and in which sense? Okay, they use Instagram all the time. They visit this page all the time. Like that's where they live most of the time. That's where their attention lives. So as a summary for that, I would say you can start small. Like it's better to start small than to not start. I would say that's how I live. Then second, once you start, you will get to know your user better, so you can define a target.
Mhm.
And once you know your target, you can ask the question, where does that user live? And then you just go and introduce yourself to that place. You say, hi, this is what you've been looking for all your life. Maybe it's a place, maybe it's an institution, maybe it's organizations. It may vary, but I think those are the three things I would say. Yeah.
Wow, that's a really good organic metrics too that you're giving. Like, start small, go ahead, introduce yourself, find where they are at. Most people are like, we're gonna do SEO and all this marketing, paid ads, and because
Yes.
they're rushing to get the 1 million users, like you
Yeah.
said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. What would be something that you would advise women that are in this tech space in order for them to feel confident to really build that business that they can either scale like you or go for an exit in the future?
Hmm. Good question. um, I would say, girl, if you want it, you get it. That's it. And if you want it, you start. There's a book I read that's called A Return to Love, by Marianne something. Have you read it?
No, I have not.
It's so good. But one of the things she says is, if you want to be a singer, you need to sing today.
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh, it's so simple but so powerful. Like, if you want to be a dancer, you need to dance today. Same thing with being a businesswoman, same thing with being a tech entrepreneur. If you want to be a businesswoman, you start your business today. Starting a business doesn't necessarily mean opening an LLC or doing all the legal work. It means, okay, what's the problem I want to solve? I'll start investigating it today. I'll start validating today. And one of the things I would recommend is that sometimes big dreams feel intimidating. So I'm a fan of turning my big dreams into small tasks. Small tasks, super small tasks, because I don't want to get my brain intimidated thinking that we need to do something that is not doable. I want to tell my brain, hey, we just need to read this article today. We just need to contact this person and ask them this question today. And my brain then is like, oh yeah, yeah, totally, I can do that. So me, in that sense, I feel like my great confidence in myself comes from knowing I can do small tasks. uh and that's, I truly like, it's very cute, but being a businesswoman, it's just breaks down into doing small tasks every day that move the needle. So I would say that. So imagine if you have any idea, any problem you want to solve, any mission in your heart. One thing you can start doing is go to GPT or whatever, DeepSeek, whatever you want to use, Claude. There are so many tools out there. Um, and you go and say, hey, this is a problem I care about. This is a mission I care about. What's the first thing I could start doing? And it can recommend you things. And then you can start following that checklist and start taking steps. The hardest part is to start. And um, once you start, you're already ahead. Like you're already in a good place. After the start, then there's how the other steps to take. But start today. Truly, there's nothing to lose, because you can even start on the side. You can even, like, starting can mean 5 minutes a week, but start. That's what I would say, and that will give you confidence, because I think confidence doesn't come from just believing that you can, but it comes from the actions that you prove yourself you're doing. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, I heard this phrase that says, like, discipline is a form of self-love. It means loving yourself enough to give yourself everything you've ever wanted. So yeah, start with discipline, start with love. That's what I would say.
So that sounds like the 2% increment every day. Like you do
Mm-hmm.
something more, 2% more every day until
Yeah.
you, it doesn't have to be the whole thing or,
Yeah.
the 3 tasks a day that people say. No, just a little bit more each day and you're
Mm-hmm.
going to get it done. How is Cimera? You just started Cimera,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. With another co-founder?
So the story of Cimera is that Cimera is the company that acquired mine so that I could become a co-founder.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
Okay, so you're a co-founder there, and how is that one going? Because it's the same AI platform, right? Connecting. Yeah.
Yes, we connect Latin American and Middle Eastern remote
Hmm.
talent to
Hmm.
US based companies and Europe based companies. That's the business pitch. Now, the tech pitch is that we are revolutionizing how hiring works. My vision is that humans shouldn't have to be applying for jobs, humans should be focusing on their own flourishment. So I want to fix that. And that's what we're doing with the technologies we are developing. And then that's going well. It's going well. We're currently about to raise our Series A soon.
Okay.
We keep growing. On the candidate side, we have around 500,000 users. And on the client side, we've worked with over 500 companies. So it's fun. It's good. It's important. It's necessary. And I'm having a lot of fun. Yeah.
So you still feel very aligned with the mission,
Yeah.
and yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And what I would say is, I truly don't ever want to do anything that's not aligned with something I
yeah,
really deeply care about.
yeah.
Because I think both things are challenging. It's challenging to work on something you don't care about,
Hmm.
and it's challenging to work on something you do care about.
Yeah.
So I decided to do the second option. And so yeah, yeah, it's 100% mission driven.
So pick your heart, basically. Pick your
Yeah,
heart. It's
I
gonna
love
be
that.
hard no matter what. So
Pick your
just
heart. Yes, I love that.
so just go for it. You
Mhm.
always talk about the residency. You're
Mm-mm.
saying, can you talk more about the residency?
Yeah. So the residency is a program that houses the most ambitious humans in the world. That's the vision for the residency. And basically, what it is, it's right now it's around 10 houses in the biggest cities of the world.
Okay.
Um, there's 2 houses in San Francisco, and right now we are opening the third house. And what the program basically does is it provides co-living, co-working spaces, and at the same time, it connects you to a network of other founders, advisors, mentors, and VCs. Um,
Okay.
I think there's a metric, I don't remember that, but a lot of the people that come into the residency increase their chances of going into Y Combinator, for example.
Mhm.
Um, because truly accessing those types of accelerators require a bit of mentoring and understanding what the game's about. And
Mhm.
so the network of the residency knows a lot about
Oh.
how the game is played in Silicon Valley. So it's beautiful in both in the sense that you get access to these accelerators and let's say money as well, but
Mhm.
also for me, and my favorite part is that you are living with very ambitious people that wake up every day wanting to change the world and putting all their commitment on doing so. So whenever you enter a house, people are working, people are building, people are creating, and you have all types of creators. You have the hardware ones, you have the research in plant one, you have the software ones, and you have all types of diversity there. So it's beautiful to see which type of problems exist all the time, which type of frameworks people use to solve these problems, what things people are creating, and that just feeds into your energy. um,
Mm.
it happens
Mhm.
to me a lot. I'm very sensitive to the energy around me.
Mhm.
So if I'm in a place where people are just like eh, just not caring about their lives, their surroundings, not
Mhm.
even about themselves, I
Mhm.
start looking at myself, and it becomes harder to care. It becomes harder to build, it becomes harder to even wake up and do something. But when you're surrounded by other people that are constantly like exploring, they're constantly going out there, learning more about the world and whatnot, that's contagious. So I want to be personally in a place where the energy around me feeds me and doesn't drain me. So I'm part of the residency and I contribute on the building of the next house that's going to be founded. And also just in the mindset that the people in the houses have, like I contribute a lot in that, because it's having a mindset, and I would also say a heart set is one of the most important things for a business to grow and scale. So I contribute a lot in that sense. Yes,
That's like the number one thing in order to grow and scale. I mean, the business is basically relies on you as a founder and
exactly.
forever until you decide that business is big enough, right? So the residency, so how long do you are you in those houses for?
Yeah, so it depends. Usually the program, like the main program, is 6 months.
Okay.
That's how long people are there. But sometimes some people decide to stay, and because they've demonstrated to be a great asset for the community, they stay for longer.
Okay.
So it would vary, but it's really cool. I like it.
Yeah, it sounds like a great experience.
Yeah.
Do you what do you contribute how do you contribute into someone's minds and heart in order for them to continue moving forward with their
I
business?
love that. I would say one of the most important things is to ask questions, to be really curious about what they're building. Because usually founders and inventors, what they constantly hear is people saying, like, that's not possible.
Mhm. Yeah.
No, that sounds like a waste of time. Like, you
Mhm.
should be going back to do this. And
Mhm.
they just hear walls being built right in front of
Mhm.
them. So
Mhm.
asking questions is an invitation for them to continue to explore, to question their own assumptions of where they want to go, and to go back into listening to their main why and their main what, and their main how, right? So I would say that that's one of the most powerful tools ever, that we practice in the houses, asking questions before we tell them what to do or even before encouraging them. Like sometimes it adds more value to say like, oh, you imagine, I don't know, they launched their first software. Like even it could add more value to say, hey, that's amazing. Like what was the most challenging part? What did you enjoy doing most? What's the next step, right? Like that's very encouraging. You can also say, hey, congratulations, but I think questions are open the doors for so that exploration can continue to happen. So I would say that like asking questions is my favorite tool in the world. Yeah.
I love that, and that's probably why you're so successful as well to
Mm,
build what you've been doing because you get to know your target, your ICP better by asking the right questions.
yeah.
Can this is one of the areas that people struggle with, more business owners, is really knowing their target audience. Can you talk more about that? How are you an expert on this?
Yeah, I love that. One of my favorite things or favorite superpowers is UX and UI. And I love it because it teaches you a lot about how to love your user.
Hmm.
And sometimes loving your user means not necessarily listening to the feedback they give, but observing them so much
Hmm.
that you see what they're actually doing and what they're actually needing. So there's a great course. I don't know if I can promote it, but if not, you can cut it. But there's a great course of UX UI from Google. It's a certificate, but I love that course because even though it's not about how to identify your target, it is about loving your user. And for me, I prioritize like understanding my user rather than finding like I don't know. I don't love like marketing strategies. Like I don't understand them that much. So I just stick to UX UI. And in that sense, like you can start asking the right questions. Like, okay, if this is the problem that I identify and this is the user that most suffers it, how do they suffer it? Which
Hmm.
current solutions are they looking for? Why are those solutions not working for them? Where are they looking for this solution? Are they looking for this solution? And if not, why? Right? If they're not looking for a solution, they why would I present it? And then you start observing them. And there's another book that I don't remember right now, but I think it's called Speaking to Humans. I think that's the name. If not, I'll send you the name later. But it says about how people's behaviors speak way more than their words.
Mhm.
So it says how sometimes it's less recommended to do surveys and focus groups, and more recommended to observe the behavior of the user. Right now, there's a lot of tools for that, a lot of data tools that you can say like, "Hey, I think this is my target," and it explores what your user does, where they move, what they truly like, and whatnot. And with that, you can learn about your user more. Yeah, our actions know ourselves better than our words sometimes. So that's what I would say about that.
I agree with you 100%. And it's interesting you say you're like, I'm not a marketer, but UX is my thing,
Mhm.
knowing the user. But believe it or not, I feel like you're onto something. I feel like marketers should probably look into this more because
Yes,
it actually
yes,
provides more reliable results.
yes.
So for you, that you're so accomplished, like what are you building now? Because you're doing a lot of different initiatives. You do a lot of initiatives with with Guatemala as well,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, so for Guatemala specifically, I am part of two organizations. One is the organizations for any company that exports technology services and
Mm-hmm.
provides them. So for that, I'm on the board of directors, basically not teaching, I don't like that word, but making accessible a lot of the information that is out there about how markets are behaving and about which products are winning.
Okay.
Because sometimes in our countries, or at least in my country, sometimes we can think we have the best solution
Mm-hmm.
because our country likes it, but
Mm-hmm.
we need to remember we're now competing globally. So
Mm-hmm.
our solutions need to be as good as any global solution. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very important to have visibility of what's happening in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I contribute a lot on that sense. Also participating in events and just getting really cool people to speak inside of Guatemala, and also for Guatemalans to speak about their ideas, because it's not only about bringing people from outside to solve our problems. We know our problems better
Mm-hmm.
than anyone. So
Mm-hmm.
it's about putting groups together. And that I do with that organization, but I also do it with different types of organizations, like founders organizations there, different things like that. And apart from that, Core Code still acts specifically in Guatemala. Now it doesn't focus just on educating in technology in like for, I would say, like lower hanging fruits or people that had more possibilities already, but now it's focusing on people that live in what we call like red zones, or areas of a lot of violence, a
Okay.
lot of lack of opportunities, a lot of like super 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 low income. So
Mm-hmm.
now we're there. We're collaborating with NGOs that
Okay.
have spaces. So, for example, we have a space. It's in front of a huge dumpster that's like a whole block. People live there. Not a whole block. It's like more than a block. It's like 5 6 blocks. It's insanely big, and people live inside there because they don't know any other way. They don't know
Wow.
how else they can generate income.
Mm-hmm.
So, with this organization, we were training women on software development so that they can start generating an income and leave those spaces. So, initiatives like that, like I am never not tied to Guatemala. Like, it's my heart. It's part of my,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
everything I do it because that reality needs to change fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, that and a lot of stuff. I just like doing stuff. I just like doing things. I get bored.
I love it. You're like, I get bored.
Yeah.
Would you say that you're more like invested into the humanitarian side of projects or more into the tech side of projects?
Oh yeah, so this that I just mentioned is not my main focus.
Yeah.
That is more like my hobby. Like when someone is watching TV or a movie at the end of the day, I'm usually doing that. So it's more like on my break. That's my hobby.
Okay.
But my main focus is in Meta
Yeah,
100%.
100%.
The technology we're building there and the innovations are truly gonna change the way in which we connect to jobs, and it's
Mm-hmm.
already building a lot of bridges
Mm-hmm.
for people in Latam and Middle East to
Mm-hmm.
global markets.
Mm-hmm.
This for me is not only a thing of like, yeah, let's get people jobs. This for me means we are realizing that we are capable of building and generating amazing solutions from Latin America.
Mm-hmm.
And that is an important narrative change because for
Mm-hmm.
a long time we've believed that we're less. that we're less than the US, less than Europe. And now with these types of solutions, we're remembering no, like we're literally just as capable. We
Mm-hmm.
literally can be working in the most amazing tech companies, in the most amazing companies, because we have the skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that's one of the most important things that moves me about Cimera. Of course, it does the job thing, and that's important. Financial mobility is so important, but also narrative. Who do we think we are? Which type of power do we feel we have? So yeah, that's my core. The technology that we're building there, that's my core. The other things are my hobbies.
Yeah, but you're still very driven by like the humanitarian side
Oh
of
yeah,
things.
yeah,
You
yeah.
wouldn't do
Oh
anything technology only. Like it has to do, yeah, it has to change something, has to make an
yes,
impact.
yeah.
Otherwise, you
It's
wouldn't
just that
touch.
I don't understand, like, and I've tried. And I think it's important because I do, even when I think of, for example, building innovations for I don't know, like optimizing processes, even that I look at it with a humanitarian side.
Mm-hmm.
Like people
Hmm.
shouldn't be wasting their time. So
Yeah.
even if I was building I don't know, a CRM for sales, I
Uh-huh.
would be thinking this is so that a person doesn't have to waste time doing that.
Yeah.
So we're bringing people back their time, and now they can spend more time with their dogs or
Yeah.
their offspring, or I don't know how to say that in English. Their kids. That's how you
Yeah.
say it. Their kids. So I always tie it, and the truth is that you can always tie it. I feel like you can always tie
Mm-hmm.
it. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, actually, sometimes you can't. Because, for example, I worked at a company that I won't say the name, but they were selling products that were not being friendly with nature. And I was just like, no, this is not kind. I don't want to contribute to this mission.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'll go and build something else.
Yeah.
But most times, I think you can relate. I think humans are really kind. Usually,
Yeah.
mostly, I have a lot of faith in humanity. I love humans, but I believe most times most things are being thought of so that we can contribute to humanity and the world. And if not, we should leave. We should stop doing that. We should do things that do care about us and the world. That's what I think, and that's what I like to do. Yeah.
I love, yeah, I mean, what you're doing is amazing. That's why I invited you to this podcast because it's like, it's so touching and moving the Guatemalan side of things. And then with the purpose that you do to make an impact. How about women? I feel like are you a mentor of women as well? Because I feel like you are. Yeah.
Yeah, so I love women. I love women, but it's interesting, and I would like to share that because I used to be very scared of women,
Okay.
and I have been working through that
Yeah.
because when I was growing up, before like when I was a child, when I was 7 to 16, I was very good at school, so I would get
Hmm.
great grades and I would be like winning all stuff, and that generated a lot of like women enemies. So that happened there. Then in my household there were some women that were always putting me down, and like that, like I was just surrounded by a lot of women that would put me down or that would
Yeah.
always be pushing me, so I became literally scared of women. I was like, it feels like a threat. It feels like
Hmm.
women are a threat, and I always have to be attentive. So I started off being very scared until like I took a year, 2, 3 years off of life in a way, because I developed a condition and a disease that pushed me out of reality for a while. But I got the time to meditate, like going back to love, going back to everything that's inside of me, to trust as well. And I decided, you know what? Anytime I meet a woman, I will assume they have the best intentions and that they are scared or fear, or they have also suffered this. So they're also like feeling threatened. So I will just start taking that assumption. Women are good and women might be scared. And if they treat me in a negative manner, it's because they suffered that as well. So now I see women with a lot of compassion. And with that, like when I started doing that, I started building more friendships and starting becoming more of a mentor to women. I mentor women any chance I get, like on my Instagram or on LinkedIn. I'm always like, hey, speak to me. If you want to build anything, just speak to me. Let's do it. I believe in you. And I always like to say, like, I believe in any idea you bring forth. Like, you want to build a rocket ship? Yeah, let's talk about it. Like, I want to see how you want to do it. And it's never a no. Just because that's how I've lived. I'd never like to tell myself no. I like for my experiments to tell me no, but not for me to tell me no. So yeah, that in mentorship. And I would say one thing I would add there is, um, I think one of the most valuable things I can do for women is to love them and to listen to them and to ask them what they really want. Because right now in the industry, it's a lot like, we need more women in business, we need more women in tech. And what I like to say to the people I speak to is, what do you want? Like, I don't care that they want you to be a businesswoman or they want you to be a tech woman. What do you want?
Mm-hmm.
And when I ask that question, I think that's where I can add more value, because it's it's about you, it's about your freedom, it's about
Mm-hmm.
you flourishing as whoever you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to be a businesswoman, that's great. If you want to be a stay-at-home mom, that's great. If you want to be a gardener, I love that. If you want to be a painter, do it,
Yeah.
um but yeah, I would close that with that. Like, I do mentor women, and the most valuable thing I can do is to remind them that they can be whoever they want to be, regardless if it's a businesswoman or a woman in tech.
I love everything that you said. It relates to me so much too. It's
Mm,
true. I mean, I feel like women supporting one another has been an evolution of time, because
yes.
back in the day, or maybe still in a few areas and places in the world, we still don't like each other very much, and
Yeah.
we put each
Yes.
other down. Yeah, it's so unfortunate because we're a minority group, consider a
Mm.
minority group. When it comes to, do you like being a businesswoman?
That's an interesting question. Do I like being a businesswoman? See, I like I like serving my users, and I like building solutions. Um, and everything else is just how you get there.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. Like, in itself, being a businesswoman, I don't know, but I do love serving users, building amazing technologies, and having trying to find ways to have fun while I do it, and to
Yeah.
love my team while I do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think of it more like that. One of the things I discovered like 2 years ago, when one of the companies was about to die and I was going through an existential crisis, I discovered, like, truly, um, whatever I do, I'll just do it because I want to do it with love, and that's it. That's success for me. If I'm choosing to do something that impacts, and if I'm doing it with love. So it could be, right now I'm a businesswoman, and I'm building technology, but I could also be a painter that does things with love
Yeah.
and cares about her environment, and I would be just as fulfilled, I think.
Yeah.
Um, if I'm always active, because I told you that I get bored.
Yeah.
Uh, as long as I'm solving problems or creating and
Yeah.
serving people I love, I'm fine. That's my life. That's winning. That's winning in life for me. Yeah.
I love what you said. So you had a company that was going bad, and then you had an existential
Crisis.
period crisis. Yeah, I feel like everybody has been through any of those. I mean, I'm sure can relate to that.
I had so many of those, girl. Yeah, so many.
How did you overcome those challenges?
Mm. Mm. Oh yeah, yeah. Beautiful. I think um I cried a lot. That was important. Um, First, I learned to take care of myself and be very compassionate with myself.
Mm-hmm.
Always, because sometimes when we're going through the motions, we forget to love ourselves. Um, to say, hey, this is that's happening is very scary. Let's go have a cup of tea right now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how would you treat someone you love? Like, you
Yeah.
wouldn't say, like, solve it now. Like, this is going to die. Like, everything's bad. It's like, no, you would say, hey, you want to grab a cup of tea? Do you want
Yeah.
to take a rest? Do you want to take a
Yeah.
nap right now? Like,
Yeah.
so I learned a lot of ways of loving myself very gently. That
Mm-hmm.
was one. So whenever I imagine I was like stressed and like very, very, like my brain was too fogged and I couldn't think, I would just be like, "Do you want to sit on the floor?" And I would just like sit on the floor and just like be there. And I was like, "It's okay if you want to sit on the floor." I think if I wouldn't have sat or slept on the floor or be there, I would have lost my mind. Like, if I wouldn't have been compassionate, I would have lost my mind. So first, that would be one, to be very gentle and kind with my heart while I was going through very, very challenging times. The second thing would be to surround myself with mentors that can show you or can remind you how reality works. Because when you're in going through like a very, very tough time in the business, you kind of feel like you're literally dying. But sometimes that's because you're just inside of the problem. Sometimes you
Yeah.
need to go out. And one
Yeah.
good way to do that is to speak with people you trust.
Hmm.
So I remember that day, that was one of the worst days. I called like 10 mentors I have from all around the world. Mentors slash friends. They're just basically friends that I always learn from. And I'm like, this is about to die. And I remember one of my mentors from Silicon Valley. He said, "Oh, that's okay. I think there's only two things that can happen now. One is you step back, you realize the problem, and you fix it, or you don't fix it, the company dies, and then you start a new company. Those are both very exciting." And I was like, "What?" Yeah, that's true. Those are both very exciting options. Like, one, the company dies and we build another one, or the other one, I fix it. Like, there's no bad outcome really. But I couldn't have seen that because I was inside, like, drowning. So I needed to get
Hmm.
out of the ocean for a second to breathe
Yeah.
and have people remind me of what life really is about.
Yeah.
And like that, I called a lot of people that gave me a lot of perspective. None of them gave me truly advice like do this and that. They were just like, just do whatever you want, but whatever you do, just take the next step, and it's not as heavy as it looks. One of the phrases I most love, and I always say it to the people I love, is I don't know who said it, but it's the mountain you are carrying, you were only supposed to climb. um, the mountain you are carrying, you were only supposed to climb. That changed my life. Because, yeah, you're just supposed to take one step at a time and the next one and the next one. You were not supposed to carry all the mountain on your shoulders. That's not going to change anything. That's not going
Yeah.
to be good for you.
Yeah.
So just like letting go of that and just taking one step at a time, helpful. And then I'm very religious. So in that sense, also having that sense of something that's a foundation that cannot move, I
Hmm.
think that was very important, because it wouldn't matter truly if everything would have broken. My foundation was there and it would never move. So it was like, yeah, it's like, yeah, it's gonna be fine regardless. So take it more as a game, because a game that you can't lose if you have that foundation. So it gets very exciting when you think like that. It's a game that you get to play and you can't lose. So that's fun. It's more fun.
I like how you like reprogram the way to see
Mm.
the problem. Because I mean, there's a lot of people out there that make businesses. They fail until they get the one that's very
Uh-huh.
successful, right? And then you're like, wow, this is great. Finally, we're going uphill.
Mm.
Um, when in your exit experience, what is something that you would change about that?
Yeah. Um, my exit experience. Truly, so as I mentioned before, the reason why I decided to exit was to learn how an exit would work.
Hmm.
One thing that I learned is that when you're selling a company or in the process of selling, a lot of your time will go into focusing on selling. So you
Hmm.
will lose a lot of the attention you were putting
Hmm.
on the growth of the company. So I was frustrated at that time because I was like, no, I want to be building, I want to be growing, but I need to focus on all this paperwork or all this stuff. So I think I would just be more compassionate on the process, knowing that this is how it goes. Like,
Hmm.
you will be focusing more on the sell for a while,
Yeah.
but that will enable for you to then grow.
Hmm.
So just having changed that mindset, like, this is just the way it is. I would have like taken off the mountain of my shoulders and just climbed the mountain. That's one of the lessons. The other thing I would say is, thankfully we had a great legal team. So that's something definitely recommend, because I didn't have to worry much or at all, because I was working with lawyers that had already done exit processes on my end, and on the end of Cimera, they had already done acquisition processes. So it was, you could trust the process more.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have a good law team that would solve that. I knew nothing, like, no. So I think that's the type of things that I would always delegate. Of course, be attentive to things now that you have tools like the LLMs, you can ask like, what's a risk in this contract? What's things that I'm not liking? This is what I truly want. Am I getting this from the contract? Like, you can get that type of advice, but I would recommend still delegating a bit to the
Mhm.
legal entities, firms. That was very helpful. Apart from that, truly, no, nothing. The exit was for me to learn and enter a bigger space, and I did it. So it's fine. Everything's fine.
Do you think, well, do you feel like you got the business valuation that you wanted to get at the end? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I would say that was more because I didn't care that much. Like, the valuation we had set when we raised the capital, that's the valuation we said we wanted, and that was fine with me. I didn't want to fight anything. There's some people, and I like that, and that's a bit how the market truly works. Is that you want to increase your valuation before you sell, or you want to
Mhm.
aim for a valuation that you really want so that you
Mhm.
can sell at that valuation. So before you sell, you get ready to increase the valuation, do some more sales, do some more tech developments or whatnot. But it
Mhm.
wasn't my goal to increase valuation or get to a certain number. It was my
Mhm.
goal to learn.
Mhm.
So my goal was accomplished, but it is really important that if you're starting to think about getting acquired, you
Mhm.
can think about what's your valuation goal.
Mhm.
And for example, I've heard from some companies that we have explored, like acquiring or investing in. Um, they have acquisition goals. They're like, yeah, so in 3 years we want to get to this valuation, and when I get to that valuation, I want to sell. Before
Mhm.
that, I don't want to sell, and
Mhm.
that's valid. So there are some acquisition strategies you can start doing, even if you're thinking of selling in 3 years. Like,
Mhm.
for example, there are companies that start preparing their evaluation analyses. They start preparing, like, what are their assets, how
Mhm.
should they have all their documents organized and whatnot. I think that's very cool if you're thinking of exiting or getting acquired. Just like as a research thing, just not like your main focus, but like yeah, on your free time you'll read a bit more about acquisition strategies. And yeah, finding mentors that have done it before, good. Like, I wouldn't never do it alone. I would never do anything alone, truly. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I would say about the exit.
I'm glad that you said that because like your purpose was to grow and continue exploring this. But yeah, valuation is really important. And
Yeah.
that's why this podcast is about to like educate people on like you need to work on your valuation if you want
Yes.
to get that exit that you
Yes.
want.
Yes.
Um, what would you say to everybody that's listening that have a business and that really don't know if they even want to exit? Well, you know already everybody's going to exit their business. Like, what advice would you give them?
Everyone's gonna exit their business. Um. Uh. Yeah. Good question. What would I tell them? First, that it's possible. But think about your. If you want to exit, think about your company as a product, and
Hmm.
you need to have a really good product that people
Hmm.
want to buy. Um,
Hmm.
So, in which sense?
I
A
like
good
that.
product in the sense that it's structured in a way that it's easy to understand.
Hmm.
The narrative is easy. You don't have a complicated cap table that people cannot read.
Yes.
So it comes
Hmm.
back to user experience, right? Think of your company as a product that people can understand the value, how it will grow, if there's some predictable variables, if there's unpredictable variables, just have it mapped as a product, because that in that way you can continuously improve that product, so that when the user comes, which is the acquirer, you're gonna be like, yeah, this is the product you've always wanted, take it. Right? So I would definitely work on that, like that. Me personally, I'm very visual. So how I like to map my companies as products is with like post-its on like a mural or whatnot. Like, if my company was a product, what are their features? Like,
Hmm.
the user, how do they look like? What value am I offering? Right?
Hmm.
Because you won't get acquired if you don't add value as a product. So I would just say that it's not only about waiting for the acquirer to come and get you. It's about building a good product that someone wants to acquire. And also, the other thing that I do think it's important is to have your user in mind, in the sense that maybe you already have a sense of who could acquire you. So study those acquirers very well. Study the
Hmm.
user. What do they tend to buy? What
Hmm.
do they tend to invest in?
Hmm.
How do those things look like? um,
Hmm.
and so imagine, I don't know, like, they only invest in companies that have a blue landing page. Okay, maybe your landing page could be blue, because then that's a language they understand.
Mm-hmm.
So same thing as building a product or a company. Sorry, a product. Is you can think about that like how you could build a company that looks like a product and that you can sell to a user that is your acquirer. That's what I.
Yeah. You said some really good stuff that actually we talk about it here a lot, like learn your acquirer, build a company like a product. That's really
Yes.
smart for you to say that and
Yes.
and like share it that way, because most people say, well, I'm just building a company and then somebody's going to acquire it. And you're like, yeah, but what are the features? So why do they want to acquire your
Why would
business?
you want that? Exactly. Why you? Why you also?
Why you out of everybody in this whole wide world, right? Why you? What would you say? Is there anything I didn't ask you that you would like to talk about?
Mm, mm, mm. No, I think I mentioned the most important things. I think what I always like to mention is the topic of your why. Like, why are you doing things? I think everyone has a different why, and it's important to know what's ours, because that why will keep us going when things get hard. The other thing that we did touch on it a bit is the importance of knowing that we will fail a lot. But the path to acquisition is not one that doesn't have failures. The path to acquisition is one where we had the failures, we learned from them, and then
Mm-hmm.
we did the next step.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's some times where it's the best decision to continue building the company after the failure. And there are some times where actually, no, I failed and now I need to start a new company. And
Mm-hmm.
that's also okay. Um,
Mm-hmm.
as long as you have the why in mind, I think everything becomes less heavy. So just that.
I think you need to start like, do you have a Facebook group, like a community group or something? I'm just,
Should
I'll
I
be part
start
of it.
one? Should I start one? I don't know. I have an Instagram. Um,
I'll be a member of your Facebook community group.
yeah, I don't have a Facebook actually, but maybe it's a good idea.
No,
Actually, I want to
you know
connect.
why? Yeah,
Yeah.
because I love how you think, and I feel like there's a lot of people out there in this world, like building and business owners, that need a lot of that support on how to reframe your mindset when it comes to problems or
Wow.
problem solving, or how to look at your company like a product. I feel like you could be a lot of impact in a community group.
You just gave me an idea, girl. Yeah, yeah. I'll think about it, like about a Facebook group or like an Instagram. There's Instagram communities. I don't know, but
Yes.
I'll definitely start a community now thanks to you. So thank
And
you
then
for saying that.
I'll be
Thank
your member. I'll be your first member. Okay. So just you can save
you.
that spot for me. Okay. First member here.
First member, Alejandra Santos. That.
Yes. Well, it was great having you here, Sophia. Oh my God. I love your energy. Like I said, I cannot say it enough. It's so great. I cannot wait to see how the beautiful things that you're gonna do, continue doing, impacting Guatemala and the world as you are doing now.
And I
Yeah.
just got engaged, which is also a great thing. I'm very excited.
You just got engaged? Oh
Yeah.
my God, congrats. Nice. Wow. And you're not
Another,
even 30. You're not even 30. I made the math.
I'm not even 30, no. And
I did the math. I'm like, what?
he's younger, but you'll learn that story soon when you join my Facebook group.
I cannot wait. I'm looking forward to the Facebook group, community with coffees and stuff.
That's it. Thank you, Alejandra. This was beautiful.
Yeah, no, thank you. I hope you have a great, enjoy yourself. And where can they find you? Anybody that wants to connect with you, where can you be found?
Yes, so right now I would say LinkedIn is one if you're
Mhm.
more like professional connection. Sofia Castillo, and you can put Sofia Castillo Cimera, and that's how I will appear easily. And then I'm on Instagram, Honest Bubble.
Okay.
That's my user.
Yeah.
We'll tell that story later in the Facebook group as well.
Yes.
Um, but it's Honest Bubble there. On TikTok, it's The Honest Bubble. Um, right now, I think those are the ones I use most.
Okay.
I was thinking of starting to use X, but I haven't yet. So
So, Honest Bubble and Sofia Castillo.
yes,
Perfect. And
that's
LinkedIn. Awesome. So, everybody that's hearing here, please connect with Sofia on LinkedIn, Instagram, and soon to come Facebook group.
Facebook group.
Yes. Thank you, Sophia. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you. Bye. Stop.